Welcome to another Final Mile Español para mí lesson. My name is Angelica, and I will be helping you navigate the future. Number 4. It is a surprisingly easy tense to conjugate, much easier than the first 3. And an added bonus, it has a lot of similarities to the next tense, the conditional number 5. One important thing to keep in mind as you learn to conjugate the future, number 4, is that, like English, Spanish has an alternative and very common way to express the future. I bring this up now because it is much easier if we establish and reinforce that association from the beginning. Conjugated future, number 4. I will clean the bathroom tomorrow, compared to the informal future. I am going to clean the bathroom tomorrow. Try to keep this difference in mind as you learn to conjugate the future. You'll enjoy this one. It's super easy. Well, in that case, let's get started. The super easy future. You will enjoy this. We are still in regular verb conjugation. Again, setting expectations. The only thing we want out of this lesson is the mechanics of conjugation. Of course, we want you to have an idea of when we use the future and a little bit of context for it, perhaps a sentence or two. But where you are really going to learn to use it and master it is in tense use and time designators. Okay, what we are looking to do now is to learn the endings and naturalize them. Okay, we continue. Prerequisites, intro to conjugation, Spanish letters and sounds, all the foundational stuff, and syllables. So what is the future used for? Planned or expected action. I will clean it tomorrow. Lo limpiaré mañana. This is the ending that we are going to learn today. Okay, this takes limpiar and puts it in the future, will clean. In rhetorical questions in the present. This is just something much more advanced, but I want to start talking about it now, just priming you for the future. Okay, most of the time in English and Spanish, when we speak of the future, we use the informal future. I am going to clean tomorrow instead of I will clean tomorrow. So because of this, the future, the conjugated future, is kind of not used very much to express the future, but it sure is used a lot in Spanish to express rhetorical questions. Okay, I wonder if they eat before 6. ¿Comerán antes de las 6? Okay, again, this is just a bit of an introduction to another use of the future. It's overloaded with meaning. So this is what we will be learning, this ending and this ending. Same 3 verbs that you have come to know and love. What are you noticing different already? Okay. Instead of just the stem, the future uses the entire infinitive. Look, we did not drop the AR, ER, or IR ending. Okay, we start with the whole entire infinitive form of the verb, and then we add the endings to that. Let's have a look at those endings. Okay, we will come back and analyze them a little bit more, but for now, let's go ahead and put our highlighter on the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. Notice that a lot of these have graphic accents. The only one that doesn't have a graphic accent is the longer one that has an extra syllable. So the default emphasis ends up falling on the same syllable as all the ones with graphic accents. Okay, these graphic accents will be on all the endings. Okay, so let's pronounce them. Yo cantaré. Tú cantarás. Él cantará. Nosotros cantaremos. Ustedes cantarán. Ellos cantarán. Be aware that we are not shortening any vowels, okay? Strong, individually pronounced vowels. Okay, very good. Let's move on to our ER verbs and see what those endings are like. Do you notice anything right away? Yes, look at this. Didn't I promise you that this was going to be very easy? Well, there you have it. The endings for ER are exactly the same as the endings for AR. Let's put our emphasis highlighter on. Okay, the exact same endings, whether it is AR or ER. Let's pronounce them. Yo comeré. Tú comerás. Hopefully you're saying these out loud too. Ella comerá. Nosotros comeremos. Ustedes comerán. Ellos comerán. Okay, so far so good. Let's find the endings for IR verbs. Ha! I told you. Look at this. Piece of cake. Exactly the same endings and the same emphasis syllable. The last syllable of all the verb forms except for nosotros. Okay? There's all the graphic accents. Okay. The endings are the same whether it is an AR, ER, or IR verb. We start with the whole infinitive. Okay, let's practice pronouncing these. Smile. Yo viviré. Tú vivirás. Él vivirá. Nosotros viviremos. Ustedes vivirán. Ellos vivirán. Okay, you may have noticed that every single one of these verb forms has a flutter R, meaning a single R between two vowels, which is the only R in Spanish that does not get rolled. It is a Betty R. If you're not familiar with Betty R, that means that you have not taken the articulation of R lesson, which is strongly recommended. If you are not saying these R's exactly the way I am saying them, do yourself a favor and go do that lesson. It is very easy to learn the flutter R. You have to practice to be sure, okay? And you have to use discipline. You have to train your brain to make a Spanish flutter R here, which is the same as the two T's in Betty, okay? So, because we don't want to say something like viviré, ray, right? Sounds like Wrangler, like it has a W before it. No, this is the time to learn to do it right, because we are going to be repeating this over and over again. And if we don't have it right, that is going to become permanent and it's going to be very difficult to correct it later. Okay, so articulation of R, you can find it in your binder, and you can also find it in the instructional video library. Okay, so how are we going to learn this? Okay, so first thing, we start with the whole infinitive for all of them, whether it's AR, ER, or IR. Then we have the same endings, whether it's AR, ER, or IR. And how are we going to remember the endings? Well, they are standard endings. You see that it ends tú with an S, most for nosotros, and ends down here. So what we have to remember is the first letter. And look at this beautiful pattern. E, A, and then it repeats. E, A. So that's all you have to remember to conjugate the future. Entire infinitive, the same for AR, ER, and IR, and you remember the EAA pattern. Of Of course, you also have to remember that the emphasis is on the last syllables for all of them, so that means that we need graphic accents, except for nosotros, that's in syllable number 2, and so for that reason, it does not need a graphic accent. Easy peasy. Let's do the next set of 3 verbs. So, hopefully, you remember what the endings are, okay? So, be thinking of them now and check as I click and they start to show up. Hopefully you got them all right. Okay, here we go. Let's practice. Yo lavaré. There's that Betty R again. Single R between 2 vowels. Oh, I have to do the highlighter for the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. Again, they line up straight up and down. Tú lavarás. Él lavará. Nosotros lavaremos. Ustedes lavarán. Ellos lavarán. Okay? See if you can get ahead and remember all the endings for vender. And hopefully you got them all right. There is the pattern, E-A-A, and it repeats, E-A-A. Let's practice. Yo venderé. Long E, okay? Not ven, okay? Venderé. Tú venderás. Ella venderá. What does that mean? She will sell. Nosotros venderemos. Ustedes venderán. Ellos venderán. I forgot to highlight, but you already know that. And now, subir. Exactly the same endings. Highlight. Where am I? Okay. Yo subiré. Tú subirás. Él subirá. Nosotros subiremos. Ustedes subirán. Ellos subirán. Okay. Next set. Whole infinitive. And now we are just practicing. We should be able to start getting in a chant here pretty soon. There is the endings EAA, EAA, standard endings. Just add an S for tú, most for nosotros, and ends down here. Let's do the highlighting of the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. They line up straight up and down, and we go practice our pronunciation. Yo bañaré. Tú bañarás. Él bañará. Nosotros bañaremos. Ustedes bañarán. Ellos bañarán. Do you feel like you're starting to get in a chant? Okay, whole infinitive. There is the same endings, EAA, EAA. There is the pronunciation emphasis. Okay, here we go. Yo correré. This is a little bit challenging because we have 2 new sounds. Okay, the rolled R and the flutter R, one right after the other. If you have trouble with it, just extend this A so that your muscles, your speech muscles, have time to transition between this configuration and this configuration, because it may not be very well practiced yet. So we slow it down by lengthening this vowel. Okay, so start again. Yo correré. Tú correrás. Ella correrá. Nosotros correremos. Ustedes correrán. Ellos correrán. Okay, let's do the last one. This one is particularly challenging because you may recall when we studied flutter R's, we said that next to an I, it is a little bit more challenging. So let's not be in a rush, right? This is where we are getting the practice that we need so that a natural Spanish accent falls into place. If we try to rush it and we get it wrong, we are doing ourselves a disservice. So speed is not your friend. Okay, we're gonna smile here, okay? Yo insistiré. I forgot to do that. Highlighting. Tú insistirás. Él insistirá. Nosotros insistiremos. Ustedes insistirán. Ellas insistirán. Okay? Before we close up the slide, we review. We use the whole infinitive. Endings are the same for AR, ER, and IR. And the pattern is EAA, EAA with accentuated, okay, graphic accents on all the last syllables except for nosotros. Nosotros doesn't need an accent. By default, it falls on that second syllable. Okay, excelente. We are trucking in Spanish. As in English, the future can be expressed with the conjugated future, which is what we just learned. I will eat, you will come, they will work, or the informal future, which is coming up in a couple of lessons here, okay? I'm going to eat. Would you agree that these two have the same meaning? I will eat and I'm going to eat. Will you also agree that this is much more common? Rarely do we say I will eat at 3 o'clock. We say I'm going to eat at 3 o'clock. And so it is with Spanish. We use the informal future in Spanish, the Spanish version of the informal future, okay? It is actually even more common in Spanish than it is in English. So let's see a couple of sentences. I will eat at 3 o'clock is the conjugated future, which we just learned. So there is a yo here that we don't need to say. We already know why, because it's not necessary, right? Comeré a las 3 de la tarde. When you say this, I want you to picture, imagine that it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, you're going to have a late lunch. Picture the clock saying 3 o'clock and you're looking forward to that meal. And then say this. We are trying to do direct meaning association. Please read the sentence with that in mind. And this means exactly the same thing. This is the conjugated future. This is the informal future. So we are going to learn how to make the informal future in Spanish. Okay? For now, trust me, this is the informal future. It means I'm going to eat. Voy a comer a las 3 de la tarde. Use your imagination and say it. Okay, by far the most common, really, more than 95%. Rarely do we say I will, especially in Spanish. Okay? The conjugated future is rarely used in Spanish to express the future. It is once in a while, so we need to know it, we need to be able to conjugate it, and we need to recognize that it is once in a while used to express the future, but more commonly it is used to express speculation in the present. Okay, just so you know that that means something, you don't have to learn it right now. Okay, so let's say that my mama says, I haven't seen the neighbor in a very long time. And here I go speculating. I wonder if he's sick. Okay, so he's not, okay, wishing him the best, but that is what we mean by speculation in the present. To express that in Spanish, we will use the conjugated future, but we learned that in a more advanced lesson. We will get to it. For now, we are focused on the mechanics of conjugating the conjugated future or the formal future. Let's look at a few sentences. We are going to learn all about time designators very soon, probably in about 4 or 5 lessons. Okay, this is a time designator. It tells us when the action takes place. The verb here is, you know it. What is the infinitive? Well, it's right there because this is the future. It starts with the whole infinitive. This is not fur, right? Because we need to smile. So this is firmaremos. Rolled R, Betty R. Firmaremos el contrato el lunes a las 3 de la tarde. Read the sentence. And now it's equivalent in the informal future. Vamos a firmar. What is this form of the verb called? If you said the infinitive, I am super proud of you. You made me very happy. Talk about smiling, okay? Vamos a firmar el contrato el lunes a las 3 de la tarde. Okay? Conjugated future, informal future. Let's do another one. Okay, you read the meaning. Hopefully you've made peace with it. And now let's practice pronunciation. La, Betty R here, ceremonia de graduación será el 14 de junio. Okay, say the sentence. Okay, so this is the verb ser, to be, in the future, right? That's the conjugated future. So now we are going to change this to the informal future, and we're going to do it like this. Va a ser. There you see the infinitive, right? We are going to learn this very soon. At this point, I just want you to know that there is an alternative and to associate that with the English, right? There is an alternative, a very common alternative in English as well, the informal future, okay? Let's say this, Betty R right here, okay? La ceremonia de graduación va a ser el 14 de junio. Okay, let's do one more pair. What is the infinitive of this verb? Very easy. Llegar. It's part of the conjugated future. Periar, single R between two vowels. Llegarán. Time designator. When will the action take place? El próximo miércoles. Repeat it. And so now what we have to do is we have to express this in the informal future. Have the exact same meaning. Okay, so this is going to be van a llegar. El próximo miércoles. Okay. Tarea time. Volume 1. Regular verbs. Indicative. Future number 4. Conjugation. There is your homework ID. Make sure you are doing the right tarea. 4 pages again. These are not very long. You don't need, since we fit 9 verbs in 1 page, you can get plenty of practice in just a very short homework. Here is the QR code if you need it. Okay, there is a current promotion. The discount code is FM for Final Mile, FM YouTube. If you enter it at checkout, you will get a 10% discount. Let's look at some of the pages. There it is. There is the color of the future. There is the example so that you can remember. It walks you through it right here. There's 9 more verbs and another 9 and another 6. And of course the naturalization part. So you write it in and then you repeat it many times. And those verbs are enough for this to naturalize if you repeat them out loud several times. Try to do direct meaning association, right? The homework exercise is not a bad place for you to learn the vocabulary. There, when you say yo nadaré, picture yourself swimming in the pool or swimming in the ocean at a time in the future, okay? Vender, if you need to sell your car, okay? Picture yourself selling it, or maybe your sister needs to sell her car. So you say, ella venderá. Imagine it happening, okay? So that's what I mean when I say direct meaning association. It's one of the methodologies that we use to reduce articulation latency, right? We don't want to think in English and then translate to Spanish. We want to associate these words directly to their meaning and get English out of the way and start thinking in Spanish. So do the naturalization, follow the instructions, and we will get there much faster. There's the discount code again, and we are done. Hopefully you agree that it was easier than the previous 3 tenses. And more good news. The next one, the conditional number 5, is just as easy. But before we get ahead of ourselves, do the homework and practice exercises to kickstart the naturalization process. When you're ready, I'll see you in the conditional number 5.